Hi, my name is Kat, and my literature review group focused on developmental issues and what they have to do with language. So, this is by Jen, Kat, Lucy, and Naomi. So, to start off, the way like all of our literature reviews kind of connected was we saw like abnormal patterns or different experiences during important periods of development, which can influence language acquisition for children. So, for example, we saw child maltreatment, environmental challenges, or the lack of emotionally sensitive language during important periods of development. So, this all can these are all factors of insecure attachment relationships, which can also influence how whether a child acquires language the same way another child would. Using emotionally sensitive language skills can foster the development of social, emotional, and language skills. And another thing we also learned from all of our literature reviews was encouraging emotional awareness through teaching language in toddlerhood. It can reduce patterns of aggressive behavior. So for our first literature review, we saw how child maltreatment has a lot to do with language acquisition. So abuse and neglect can have a lot of effects on how children express themselves and receive language as well. So this literature review found that language delays are associated with emotional difficulties, social challenges, negative academic impacts. And then not only does abuse and neglect present like current language not only does it prevent language acquisition, it presents a lot of future challenges. And then it's also we also learned that it was very important for children or for parents to use positive language and create opportunities for shared learning activities, and facilitate developmentally appropriate learning. Sorry guys, my dog is barking. The effects of learning emotion-specific vocabulary. So for this literature review, emotion-specific language is a predictor for both early and later acquired emotional understanding. So, for example, empathy or being able to read facial expressions. So, a child's ability to language ability is also a predictor of how well they understand emotions, regardless of their age. So toddlers can do this, preschoolers can do this. So creating an environment where kids can learn about or using emotion-specific vocabulary really helps them understand emotions, and using their words instead of, whether it's hitting or whatever, if they're expressing themselves aggressively, this can be a really good form of redirection. So then these children are also more likely to have larger vocabulary. And something else is that this also helps children understand what words really mean, and actually also help them be emotionally competent. Redirecting aggression in toddlers through encouraging modeling language. This is actually my literature review, so a lot of what I learned was the importance of positive language reinforcement. So aggressive behaviors are very common in toddlerhood, but language development is actually a very strong predictor of prosocial behavior. So using positive language reinforcement and training teachers in emotion knowledge and maternal discourse are very important when trying to redirect aggressive behaviors or trying to prevent them at all. So, and actually, interestingly, for positive language reinforcement, high intonations have a lot to do with like irritability and or whether children are responding well. So positive language, regardless of the intonation, reduces aggression, but negative language, regardless of the intonation, increases the likelihood of aggressive behaviors. Early relationships and language development. So for this literature review, social relationships are very important and influence language development, of course. So attachments within a child's life can have a lot to do with their language development. So if they're surrounded by insecure attachments with their caregivers or their parents, that can really delay their language development, especially if, for example, like if they're constantly dismissed, if their needs are never met, then, they don't learn how to speak up for themselves. And if that's not enforced in anywhere outside of the home, and if it's not being enforced within the home as well, these kids can really suffer. At least in the language department. I'm sure other domains can be affected as well. And then, something important was to increase engagement levels between parent and the child, because that really helps their language development. So, abusive and traumatic parent-child relationships have a direct correlation with language development, but are more likely to delay and damage very specific domains of development. Back to secure attachments with a caregiver, or secure attachments with a caregiver. For example, in terms of infants, they are able to develop at a healthy rate, and their language is not affected in a negative way. And then responsive and emotionally sensitive parenting creates a cognitively stimulating environment that allows a child's language to flourish. So for our conclusion, we found that all of our literature reviews connect in the way that language has a lot of effects on a child's social, emotional, cognitive, and physical development. Of course, a lot of what we found was like developmental issues and how they affect language. So understanding teaching children to cope with their emotions is really important. And attachment bonds with peers and caregivers also affects this, and enabling children to learn and interact with the world around them, and always promoting that kind of environment is important as well. When learning is hindered, obviously there are very detrimental effects. For example, regarding my literature review, we found that children resort to aggression or in order to release these frustrations. But as long as we are constantly redirecting them and reminding them that they can use their words, that really helps them. In order to optimize development, attachment figures must sensitively respond to their child's communication to enable trusting exploration of language and environment. Development and language are interchangeable aspects in the progression of a child's maturation. Early interventions of teaching young children to use their words have shown that these children are less likely to be diagnosed with psychological disorders or other developmental issues that may hinder pro-social behavior. Thank you so much, guys.